Hello, hello! My name is Kallista, and welcome back to Roottreemania. In the last episode, we got our first 4 family members locked in. Oh, miracle. Oh, miracle. You sneaky, sneaky man, you trying to come off as holier than thou, and meanwhile, you have secret kids. You have secret kids. Naughty, naughty. Now then, we were looking through the reminders list. That was how we got the picture of Stephanie and her new baby. Very happy for these two. Let's see if anything's going on with Caroline. Thank you. After the release of 6 Pieces, Caroline Morden did a television interview. Someone has uploaded a partial transcript of that interview on the television section of a messaging community. The transcript is only her answers and is missing the questions. This creates a somewhat confusing reading experience, but does give you a bit more history about Caroline and some of her family members. Okay, let's, okay. 45 minutes, the Caroline Morden interview. This was a cable news interview. A transcript of only Caroline's answers have been posted on a site about television. So, thanks for being on. Thanks for having me. I've never really fit into the family, so it didn't surprise me. She could have put me in if she wanted to talk about the time during my activism days where I almost got arrested for stealing the spark plugs out of all of her tractors, but I don't really think it fit her narrative. Okay. So yeah, you weren't involved in the book. Why do you think that is? I've never really fit in. Yes and no. They never tried to kick me out or send me to live on a farm, if that's what you mean. But I was already pretty unpopular, and once everyone learned why I divorced my husband, few people paid me any attention. So, yeah. Yeah, have you faced any hatred within the family for being gay yourself? Yes and no. She's my wife. Not legally, but we've been together for half our lives. Call it what it is. I was 20 and had just had my daughter. I hate to look back on that time because I was a terrible mother the first few years. I left my daughter with my ex-husband and followed Guy on a private jet to Europe. He lost a tooth and a client. I found love and a better understanding of who I was. Still, in our family's eyes, his trip was somehow more acceptable. Explain that. Okay, so yeah, tell us about, I want to say she's called Eloise. It's an E name. I can remember that. It's a name that begins with E. So yeah, tell us about Eloise. And so, okay, so she met her. So she was a client. She was going to be a client. I guess Guy tried it on with her. She punched him like, fuck off, I'm a lesbian. And then Caroline saw that and was like, I am also a lesbian. And then they got together. And yeah, she brings up the hypocrisy of like a guy going to Europe to shag his way across the continent. Completely acceptable. Me finding a long-term partner. Oh, how scandalous. Just because we're both women. No, I couldn't stand him. Our family wrote off his behaviour like he was some huge fan of romance or women, but he didn't like the entire woman. It was doubly awkward for me because he was more supportive than most. I slowly figured out it was because he assumed I would be as shallow. So yeah, what did you think of... did you like Guy Hudson? Yeah, and it's the whole thing. I hate this standard. This it's such a bullshit standard. And it doesn't benefit boys or men. The idea of like... oh yeah, guys should sleep around. Oh, it makes them macho. Yeah, manly men. If a woman does it, she's a slut. She's a slut. But if a guy does it, he's a right shagger. Get in there, my son. Like it allows for abuses. It allows for abuses. It's that mentality that causes. It's why that most men who are victims of sexual assault don't come forward. Especially if their attacker was a woman. Because like, oh, that's a good thing, you were shagging, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It harms men. It harms men and boys, and it's complete and utter crap. And he was supportive of Caroline because like, oh, you're a lesbian. Therefore, you understand my womanizing ways. She's like, no. No, I don't. He was a workaholic. He seemed nice enough and did a good job. I didn't know him well. That was one of Sam's problems with our family. None of us did except Carl. Honestly, I get why she's... So, what did you think of Ernie Jr.? What did you think of Ernie Jr.? The family didn't get to know... I guess on some level they still viewed him as an outsider. We know Ernie trained under Zach. And they gave Guy the job for whatever reason. Not for whatever reason, because he had the right blood, he had the right name. He was part of the family. None of them got to know Ernie except for Carl, because Carl was a top bloke. Oh, I'd rather not speak ill of the dead, not unless you want more stories about Guy. With Carl, though, all I can say is we used to be friends before they sent him to private school. This is the second time this private school has come up. He came back a lot judgier. It made sense when they made him president. He was a lot like my father after they disciplined the fun out of him. After I started protesting the farms, he stopped returning my calls. So yeah, give us some dirt on Carl. And she's saying she doesn't want to. Oh, well, he's harder to label. When I was a teenager, he was basically drunk or high or both, all the time. He actually used to sell me pot. His problems with women were different than Guy's, but he never really judged me. I guess he knew it would be pretty hypocritical to judge anyone for anything. Back then, he was destructively unreliable in every way, but nowadays he's just kind of boring and old. I prefer that to how he used to be, and to Guy and Carl, but it's still a cautionary tale. I hope I'm never that boring and old. I would assume this is probably tell us about Clark. Because, Clark's had problems with women. Clark's had so many problems with women. But he's calmed down a lot now in his old age. Okay. One second, let me just go through this. I can guess what the questions are. Yeah, the absolute... I despise that double standard. As I said, it harms women and it harms men. It's not good for anyone. However, this I want to make note of. This could also probably go in Guys, but I'll do it on this page. Yeah, we'll highlight that. I feel... Then again... So yeah, this is completely innocent. This is all to do with Guy. This has to be Elias, and this is Miracle. So I guess maybe it's just a... It's just an offhand comment here, I think. Carl doesn't seem to have been involved. Can we look up the show? Where am I? Right there. 45 minutes. Okay, maybe not. Okay. Still, interesting. Interesting. Where were we up to? Yeah, Caroline Morden. Yeah, we looked up Chris. Anything going on with November? Okay, probably not. Oh my god, why am I having issues there? Okay. Yeah, and oh my god, this whole palaver. I'm pretty sure... Oh my god, there we go. Ron and Robbie, okay. Okay. Robbie Roottreemania was released from French prison after serving a few years for assault. His embezzlement and arrest were partially featured in 6 pieces, as Robbie's participation in the Clancy Trust was a key piece of evidence in Sam's favour, and has since become much more publicly infamous. He has not yet returned to the United States, but when journalists reached out to him recently after the death of his mother, he had issued a blanket statement a few days ago. "The death of my mother was hard on our family. My brother and I, after spending time together caring for her and mourning, have finally made amends. It was a highly transformative few weeks when it came to our relationship. I'm in recovery from my addiction, and a major aspect of that process is that I wish to stay private." Fair play. Fair play. And yeah, you're just Ron. Yeah, I read about this. I read about this. And I looked up the article, I do remember. Okay. Yeah, this is the steamy correspondence. Anything new? I'm like, I don't know if... I'm like, have I... Okay, yeah. Maybe irrelevant. Got it. Anything new with this guy? Yeah, no. Okie doke. Family... Here's the thing. This was propaganda at the time, but we might... Aha. Family Man, The Roottreemania Legacy by Bess Williams. No. Where would this be? Where would this be? Where the fuck would this be? I'm just saying. Who's Beth? Beth. If you were listening through a door, you might get those confused. Family Man, The Roottreemania Legacy by Bess Williams was a very poorly received book about Elias Roottreemania. There are very few copies of the original, published in 1920, but it was recently republished by the same publishing company that printed Lauren's Diary for schools. It seems they wished to capitalise on Roottreemania. It did not work. Okay, let's copy that. By excuse me, Bess Williams. Hello there. A reprinting of an old book about Elias Roottreemania. It's blatant corporate propaganda. Hello, can we... We can take that. Family Man, The Roottreemania Legacy, Bess Williams. The dictionary defines propaganda as information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicise a particular political cause or point of view. But if they were to replace that definition with a picture, it would be a picture of this book. The book tells you nothing new about Elias, and from what you know of his true feelings towards some of his extended family, you're not sure it tells you anything true about Elias either. The reissue of this book was so lazy that they reused the famous photo of Elias from Business Watch, whose copyright had expired. The best thing it has going for it is that it's only 85 pages long. I'm thinking... Can we look you up? Okay. Bess Williams was an author born in the late 1800s. She lived just outside of Miami and died tragically young in a major hurricane that struck the area in 1926. Bess has a minor history with the Roottrees. Her only notable book, Family Man, is widely considered blatant propaganda about Elias Roottreemania. It has been all but forgotten until recently when it was re-released during the height of Roottreemania. There's a site dedicated to hurricane statistics that also mentions Bess Williams. The Bocador... I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I do apologise. The Bocador Library, not far from where she lived, was partially destroyed in the hurricane. When they rebuilt, they named the non-fiction section after her. The library was expanded again in 1950 and then closed in 1963 when multiple larger libraries opened in the surrounding area that made it redundant. Can we? Hello. The Bocadoral Library no longer exists. You find multiple libraries in the area. According to the website for the library system in Miami, the building where it once sat is now the Miami Print Museum. Searching for the Miami Print Museum, you come across their website. It states their hours and a list of exhibits. The building is very small, admission is free, and they only have room for a few different displays. One of the exhibits is their courtyard, which includes a fountain as well as a statue of an unknown author. The picture has been added to your evidence. Another is a printing press that was used by the Miami Sunday, a now defunct weekly newspaper. The last is the original print of Cuba by Cubans, an art book. Where? Hello. This is a statue in front of the Miami Print Museum, formerly the Bocadoral Library north of Miami. It sits in the courtyard and according to their site is said to be of an unknown author. And we can take that picture, okay. I'm thinking... Right. You're going there. That's Elias. And your occupation was... Yeah, first president. I'm thinking you had a thing with Miss Bess. There. And you were an author. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm right, that makes 3. We would just need another one to prove that. Or disprove that theory. I'm thinking, can we look up the newspaper? The Miami Sunday has no records that you can find online or in your periodical such. It merged with another periodical and became the Miami Mercury Sunday, which folded after only 1 year. Okay, can we? The Miami Mercury Sunday was a newspaper that lasted only a year from 1949 to 1950. You find a small website about quirky printing history facts, and that mentions that the Miami Mercury Sunday was the outcome of merging 2 smaller failing newspapers. This resulted in one larger failing newspaper, which was only notable to the author because by combining the names in the way it did, it was tied to the longest title for an American newspaper at the time, with a newspaper in Jefferson, Texas. So, So I guess would it have been the Mercury Sunday? Or the Miami Mercury? The Miami Mercury is a now defunct newspaper that merged with the Miami Sunday. The resulting newspaper, the Miami Mercury Sunday, went out of business. It seems at some point during this process, it was at least partially archived and available via your periodical such. Okay. Also, you know what? Let's... Cuba by Cubans is a book of paintings of Cuba released in 1963. It's credited to Marcia Barban. At first glance, it doesn't seem related to your such in any way, but at first glance, which means it might be. Copy that. Nope, you. And who was it by? Marcia Barban. Okay. Oh. How dare Cuba by Cubans is a book of paintings of Cuba released in 1963 and is credited to Marcia Barban. On second glance, it still doesn't seem related to your search in any way. Game. Okay, you know what? Let's look up. I am going down every rabbit hole I can find. If I think it might be a rabbit hole, I'm going down it. The fact that I'm like, which... Right. I'm gonna search up a bunch of Miami stuff. Okay, the Miami Mercury has an article about Bess Williams' section in the Bocadoral. She had a son. Okay, sorry. In the Bocadoral Library when it was being built in 1928. It mentions that Bess's young son, now an orphan, was in attendance during the dedication. It also has a later mention from 1949, the last year the paper existed, about a bidding war for a planned expansion of the library in 1950. The bidding war was won by Wildcat Construction and included a new statue, fountain, and a second room that would double its shelf count. Okay. Wildcat Construction is listed in some historical records as having worked on buildings in the Miami, Florida area. It seems to have ceased operations in the 1960s. Can we... Let's... Okay, Wildcat Construction was mentioned once in a library you've already seen about the expansion of the Bocadoral Library. In an article you've already seen, I'm sorry. It was also mentioned earlier in 1947 under the headline, Constructing a Better World. Frank Wildcat Williams left Florida in 1941, a construction worker, and returned a hero. He won the Navy Cross for his bravery and sacrifice, having carried a fellow soldier to safety under heavy Nazi fire. Now he and his wife Ophelia are carrying his fellow soldiers through tough times at home. Wildcat Construction is Frank's company, focused on creating opportunities for soldiers finding difficulty getting back to normal. Ophelia has handled outreach to the wives of local veterans who are often able to provide insight into their husbands' needs and conditions. She has, through such outreach, found 13 veterans of the war to serve as Frank's employees. The community support has been unendingly and overwhelmingly positive. It has gotten to the point where if Frank bids on a project, other local companies have decided to step back and let his soldiers handle it. This has become a bit of a sore spot for local politicians and business owners, as the bids are often not as low as they expected. The problem for them is that essentially Frank has a selective monopoly, but any attempt to circumvent it has caused an uproar and accusations of being un-American. It's uncertain what will become of Wildcat Construction, but at least for now we're rooting for them. I think here's the thing, if he's won the Navy Cross, I don't know what level, I'm not a big military person. I don't know the levels of certain medals, but I'm like, that, to me, I'm like, surely that's a big one. It sounds big. Bravery and sacrifice. Surely there must be websites for veterans, for people who have won medals. I'm sorry. Frank Wildcat Williams is listed on a few different military history websites. He was awarded a Navy Cross Medal in World War II, and the story goes that even after being struck in the arm with a bullet, he managed to carry a fellow soldier through enemy territory on his shoulders for over 2 miles. He died in 1996, age 74, in a retirement community in Sweetwater, Florida. An obituary on the website of a local news channel that was written by his surviving family also shed some light on some of his personal life. He grew up an orphan because his family died in a hurricane when he was very young. He could barely remember his mother and had no memory of his father. After the war, he ran a construction company that mainly hired World War II veterans and did a lot of jobs in and around the greater Miami area. He was a born joker and a shining light to those veterans who needed it most. An anecdote mentions that he used to insist his wife... Oh my god, brain, keep it together, you can read. An anecdote mentions that he used to insist he married his wife Ophelia as a matter of courtesy and convenience. She wouldn't have to change her last name, so they have the same last name. I think that's what that's saying. A photo is attached of Frank in his youth juggling hammers in front of one of his construction sites, as he was often known to do. According to the article, he is survived by Ophelia as well as his daughters Barb and Sharon Williams. Okay. You. Yeah, and there's the statue of his mom. This image was found in an obituary for Frank Wildcat Williams. He was juggling hammers on a construction site. Hello. Okay. So, ooh. Guardian, adopted or otherwise. A John Doe, Okay. So I think you are Ophelia. And yet he married her because she wouldn't have to change her surname. So I think you are a Williams. And you are Frank Williams. And you worked it's the latest one, right? Most recent occupation, so yeah, construction. There we go. Lovely. Okie doke. And no new meeting from either Clark or Sam, but still, okay. Now we know. Oh, multiple marriages. Okay, so one of you is Barb. Where was it? Yeah, one of you is Barb and one of you is Sharon. Okay. I'm like, you know what, just in case. Okay, nothing relevant, good stuff. Okay, and then we have... Oh! Barb Williams is a motivational speaker and she has a website that explains the services she offers. Her company's address is listed as in Coconut Grove, Florida. The flyer has been added to your evidence. Okay, okay, hello. Barb Williams flyer. Barb Williams advertises her career as a motivational speaker online. This flyer includes 3 different testimonials from Greta Jones from WQTV12, Vic Elmsworth from the Kikua Falls Gazette, and Isabel Crosby, the superintendent of Benton County. So, overcoming adversity with Barb Williams. Yoink. Her story will surprise you, uplift you, then energize you. Greta Jones, Morning News. A lesson that anyone can take something away from. Okay, yeah, that does make sense. Vilk Elmsworth. An intimate evening with a truly wonderful message. Isabel Crosby. Book Barb for corporate retreats, church events, or even school assemblies. She can customize her message for any audience. Do we have... Okay, so we do have pictures for both of these. There's a split up there. Okay. I'm a little bit confused by this. I'm like, why is this connecting to... Oh! I get it! Okay. You had one biological kid. She has a kid. You adopt that kid. Okay, I get it. I get what's happened here. Okay. My thought is, in which case, that is probably Barb. She was called Barb, right? Yeah, Barb. overcoming adversity. She has a child, probably when she was a kid. She was probably a minor. And she has a kid, and then the parents are like, we will take the kid. You need to do your own thing. You need to finish high school. Get your life together. And we'll adopt the kid. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Can we... Okay, Greta Jones is, according to a flyer in your position, the morning news anchor for a channel called WKTV12. Unfortunately, WKTV12 has no online web presence whatsoever. You do find it listed on a giant list of television call signs next to the city Springfield under the heading Effingham County. You may need to do a deeper dive on a specific city and state to see if any locals have discussed the news in that area. Okay. Can we... Effingham County is in the name of two different... Oh, there goes that. Okay. Springfield. Nah. Okay. In Georgia. Okay, in which case maybe... Okay, can we do... Okay. Okie doke. When you refine your search to television in and around Springfield, Georgia, you come across a website that lists different channels available there. The list seems to only feature broadcasts with female news anchors. The person who runs the website has ranked each using 3 categories, none are relevant to journalism. Oh, don't do that. One of the entries is Channel 12. The news anchor is listed as Greta Flores. Okay, so, well, I am out of time for this episode. However, I do think we will be digging further into that to see where it takes us. But until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. A special thanks to my channel members, such as SM2K, Christopher K. Davis, CGG, and Kevin Bicknell. I've been Callista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.